unless it's going to tell me that I waited too long. It did, assholes. That's the problem of having it set up and ready to rock and then not actually doing it.
I don't know why you just hit record.
Now, the record's the easy part. It's the going live on Facebook. It doesn't pick up the feed fast enough unless you actually just do it. And I was talking instead of doing it. So it got pissy and said, do it again, which only takes a second.
Marcy just wrote, did this start yet?
See? Where is it? Where are we? I want to hear some exciting stuff about Zephan. I also want to hear some exciting stuff about Zephan. Chat with Zephan Gilani, Advisors, Mortgage. We have to name it. We have to describe it. We have to tag it. We have to bitch slap it.
Wait, you want to know what my new promo thing that's coming out? It's actually really good.
No, you can tell us online. It'll be a fun secret. Or you not want the world to know?
I don't care. They're not going to be able to do what I do.
All right, good. Wait for it then. We're going live now. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever the hell it is. This is George Weitengruber from Weitengruber Law, and I'm really psyched to be joining you for our Tuesday, Thursday community chats. And today, I promise you, this conversation is very likely to go off the rails because when you have your friends on the air, they have the right to fuck it up on you, and you go way off tangent. Today, we are joined by Zephan Gilani from Advisors Mortgage. Not only do I love Zephan for the passion that he brings to the mortgage industry, but he's funny as hell. He's really sharp and he's a ninja when it comes to social media and the way that he gets creative messages out there. So I am so psyched to introduce Zephan Gilani to you all today. Zeph, thanks for coming, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So we've known each other for about a year and a half because the event that you did up in Red Bank just passed the year mark. And since then, we've been somewhat thick as thieves as it comes to all of these crazy ideas and these crazy deals. But we are now living in crazy, unprecedented times. And the mortgage company's gone through the mortgage industry's gone through its own weird roller coaster over the last 3 months. Why don't you tell us about it?
So, I mean, yeah, ever since that day, the mortgage industry is always a roller coaster. I mean, such as real estate. But nothing compares to what we recently experienced. I mean, COVID-19, despite the tragic events that have followed it, there were some positives, and the main one with our industry was rates dropped. I remember it was March 9th, actually, out of nowhere. I just heard every guy in my office just started hitting their phones at once, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I logged in, and I'm like, whoa, what? They just dropped out of nowhere to 3%. I'm like, how's that even possible? So of course I'm power dialing to anybody I've ever closed on, talked to, and it was a 12-hour day, but the amount of volume that I got in that day just never happened. But then the following days is where shit really hit the fan because it was like the Chernobyl effect. It's like, all right, the explosion happened and it's over, right? But no, every day got worse and then worse and then worse. And all of a sudden the spread was just gone. We actually, I don't know how long in fact, but it was at least a good week or two where I didn't even have rates for FHA. And that was a big portion of my clientele, at least half. So I would say, March is when it happened. April is when things started kind of balancing out. When I say balancing out, it was still up and down. We sounded like shady car salesmen because I could talk to you on a Monday and be like, hey, George, you're at 3.375, no points, fantastic. Talk to the wife, let me know what you think. Then we'll talk on Thursday, and that same exact scenario is now 4%. So I'm just like, I know.
My cousin Jimmy got this loan for 2.9%, and he must have been one of the lucky guys in that 12-hour period because for the next 3 weeks, it was 4.5.
So for some people, yes, they did dip under threes.
Yep.
With FHA currently, if you have above a 680 score, you can get under 3 with 3.5% down, no points. But you need that minimum scores. And that's the other thing. Restrictions got tighter on these guidelines. The minimal credit down, I used to be able to get 580s through the door. you can't get anything under a 620. And just because you're at 620 doesn't mean the rate's appealing. It's still better than it's been. I recently actually had somebody yesterday and the rates were in the fours, but like, a year ago today, that was a good rate. So it's all relative.
It's amazing how fast people's opinions get colored by seeing what they missed out on. And sometimes what they forget is that doing the work. So when we saw the FHA jump up from 580 to 620, at one point they were talking about 640, everyone starts whining and crying because they're like, oh, holy shit, that's completely unfair. But if you actually take the time to put in the effort ahead of time, pulling your score up by 50 or 60 points it's an easy hack if you know how to do it and you spend the time planning. True or false?
Exactly. No, it's true. There's ways to do it. There's a lot of Easter eggs to boost your score. I mean, there are people who do need a professional. Insert ad for Jose Rodriguez at Clean Slate Credit Solutions. Let that run through.
Yep.
Every now and then people do need to actually seek out an expert. But for the most part, some people can self-fix their own. Most people that I deal with personally who have low credit, a lot of it is due to consumer debt. And
right.
You'd be surprised because, people who have like $1,000 limit and they have it maxed out, they don't realize that by getting that under 30%, how drastic their score is going to boost. And luckily I work for a company where they invest into all these tools. So I can now Zoom with them and show them like, hey, if you allocate this amount of money to this account and this to this one, this is where they project your TransUnion score to be, your Equifax, your Experian. That way it's like, it's not guesswork. We're strategically trying to use your money to get your score to where it needs to be. Because like I said, even though if you get to 620, yeah, you're approved. That's all fine. But the rate's not good. 640 gets better, 660 gets better, but it's not until you're past 680 that it's like, wow, 3% rate, no way. And then if you hit the 700 club, it's under 3 for the most part. Again, it comes down to debt to income. A little disclaimer there in case human resources is watching.
It's funny. One of the people that just jumped on to watch is Abby Campbell, who went through that fun roller coaster with you, but she was one of the people that she did it right. Docs, talk about that. Docs were ready. And when you watched the roller coaster, how did you make sure you got it where everybody was happy?
Well, so I use a lot of resources, MBS Highway. I use a colleague of mine, John Iacono, who I trust to give me, mortgage rate advice. But now I've been learning, I've been taking it on to really be able to see where it's headed for certain people. We can see where it's been and kind of where it's headed, but nothing's for sure ever. So with your client, you actually had referred her to me. I had told her when I met her, I'm like, hey, it's not where they need to be for your file right now. And I got all of her documents, I got everything. And then literally it was on March 9th that I called her and she didn't even think twice. She was like, lock it up. And it was a perfect closing. One of the best people that I've worked with. So, I mean, everything when it comes to rates.
Exactly. One of the points that's out there becomes have your shit together, be organized. And when somebody asks you for documents, they're not busting your balls. They're trying to make sure that you're prepared to jump when that rate hits at just the right point.
See, here's the thing. If you're refinancing, you can't be too early. You can't. Even if you plan on doing it in 2-3 months, you can't. Just get the numbers. Learn what you're dealing with. How much is it going to cost you? What's it going to turn into? What's the savings, right? And then have that ideal rate. And that way your guy, whoever you're working with, they can monitor it for you. And when it makes sense, they'll lock it and it's done. You can't be too early, but you can be too late. I have a lot of people who it's like the rates are perfect, but I don't have their documents to support the file. So it's like, hey, they're exactly where you want them to be. Do you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G now for me so I can make sure it's accurate?
No, but get it for me anyway. I'll have them to you tomorrow. I promise.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
A lot.
You know how much I make? And my favorite thing is, you know how much I make? And I'm like, no, I don't.
Well, you know how much how I project to me. The Instagram life shows that I'm doing pretty good.
Instagram shows me that a lot of people are doing way better than they should, according to Glassdoor. If you look at most of these occupations and for these lifestyles, they don't really add up. But who am I? I mean, I'm actually, I shouldn't even speak on that because I made myself look way bigger than I was before I was. I finally matched where people thought that I was. In the very beginning, it's all about how you present yourself. So it's like I put myself on all these luxury things and crates and containers and truck trailers. but I didn't really do it. I photoshopped it so that way I can give the illusion, and that way people are like, wow, his name's all over all these things. No, but it got people talking to think, create discussion, have people saying, no, he didn't. Yes, they did. But the point of the matter is they were talking about me, and it spread really fast. So
the legend of Zephan, and this is where it sucks that our host is a low tech asshole who probably can't bring any of that up to show people how mad genius some of your stuff has been. The hack he was just talking about was a white screen with a tractor trailer that had his name emblazed across it, and it's a long enough name to do it. You had the Las Vegas with the big billboard. Was that in Times Square or was it in Vegas?
well, no. So I don't know which one exactly. I've done over 100 now. But so here's the real idea how it all came to be, right? And I was actually fortunate enough to recently have a dinner with him. I was inspired by Rob Dukansky's marketing tactics, right? If you live in New Jersey, you know who that is. He's the guy that you see when you look up when you're driving. He's everywhere. He's on every billboard in the world, well, in New Jersey. So being that he already took care of the physical world, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do the same thing on the virtual world. Problem is, my industry is not sexy. I'm not selling homes. So I did the Geico method. I literally took relevant things or just anything, and I just threw my shit on top of it, like this logo right behind me. That's literally what it was. And my first idea ever was like 2 years ago. And my brothers, they're all longshoremen, right? All in Newark. And I was thinking like, damn, that'd be so cool to have my logo on this and people could see it on the turnpike. And then I'm thinking, that's not guaranteed. They're gonna move those containers all day, every day. You know what I mean? So I was playing around with the idea and I photoshopped it and I posted it on Facebook and I wrote just my caption. I tagged the location of their port and my caption was everybody else has billboards. And it went like viral. Everybody really thought that I did that and thought it was genius, where in reality that would have been a terrible waste of money. But fake it till you make it. That worked out way better than anything I could have actually physically done.
So I make myself super super sad because I'm a technological idiot. But fuck it, let's see if this works. Ready? If I share this, no, fuck that. It's never gonna work. If I share the screen, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you get it? Am I showing the fucking fox from Zoopoly or no?
Yeah, no,
I'm not.
No, you're showing it. It's just a little laggy, but it's showing.
Fucking laggy. Of course it's laggy. Hey, that's not a trailer you want to see. That's not you.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be you. But
I'm glad you're on my YouTube channel. I just started doing that actually. The reason being is most people don't realize YouTube is the second largest search engine right behind Google. If you don't Google something, you YouTube it.
Yeah.
So I actually just recently started uploading things in there. Me and my branch manager and my boss, actually, he's Anthony Muscarella. We're actually launching a cartoon series of explainer videos featuring him, hopefully myself, but his are coming out first. He's got the name to make it work, so I'll tag on in season 2, hopefully. But we're actually finishing up final revisions on it, and hopefully we're going to launch it hopefully this weekend, if not next. But it's definitely going to change the game. It's very cool.
Ivy just told me that they didn't see it, but now we're going to see if I unfuck that and made it so they can see it. So here we go with your most famous one.
No audio.
No audio. Too many fucking things going at the same time. This is why we don't use a technological idiot run a show.
Yeah, I think you have 2 microphones going at once. There you go.
Now I have none going. That's it. We're just going to listen to dead air.
So that was a real publicity stunt. You were just referencing. So for those that have seen Tiger King, for those that haven't, I don't know where the hell you've been during the pandemic, but it was the only thing that you could watch that wasn't the news. I took advantage of it real quick. It was a Joel Osteen. Was it Joel Osteen? Is that his name? The Soup guy?
It's Low. It's
No, I know, but the guy from the Soup who wound up doing the
follow-up. Oh yeah, Joel McHale.
McHale, that's the guy. So he did the follow-up episode. I'm like, oh, he was able to get in touch with all these people, so I'm sure I can too. So I actually literally just Googled, Rob Lowe. I'm like looking up how I can contact these people. And sure enough, there was a website that was fairly new. No one actually really knew about it. It was called Cameo. So I reached out to it and I set it all up. And I was like, hey, am I able to do like a shout out, this, that, the other? And they give you a very small amount of characters you're allowed to use for your shout out. But I had crafted it where I just made enough. And pretty much in the height of Tiger King, I dropped it and I blasted it everywhere for about 30 days. And just again, the shock value was overwhelming. The amount of people calling me, texting me saying, holy shit, do you really know these people? Have you ever been there? And it's like, no. But the thing is, people are like, well, as good as that is, what's the point? Well, I got people calling me, and that conversation turns from Tiger King to where's rates today. And that's the whole thing. I have so many people reaching out that I was able to convert a huge majority of those people into refis. That's why it's been fun.
So I'm asking for a friend, but can I put 5 baby tigers down as a down payment instead of actual cash?
If you can source where they came from.
Jeff,
Like
we have a shot, Jeff. Thanks. I'll call him back later. Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I felt really psyched to be there as your brain exploded into trying to figure out how to put it together, and that's part of what I love about your creative genius is there's a bit of a no, this is too crazy, but it's so crazy that it just might be fun enough to do. Where do you draw that inspiration?
I've always liked shock value, but now being under a professional environment, you have to play politics still. So I kind of find that fine line. As long as it's not offensive, I can pretty much get away with it. Um, so I've been really doing that. I've had a lot of ideas shot down. I've had a lot of people, shit on them per se. But like, for instance, I did, what were they? The car air fresheners, right? That was my big promo item of like a year ago.
Yep.
And they were little versions of me, and they smelled amazing, right?
You smelled amazing in my car for a long time.
And the amount of people who were just like taking pictures of me hanging out in their car and tagging me, and they would repost it. People would message me and be like, "How do I get one?" I'm like, "Close with me. That's all. It's just, you get it at the closing. It's a joke, but something so simple and funny, but is memorable. And it's even more funny because I still run into like realtors and people, and they still have it, and it doesn't even smell anymore. Like it's just a dead air freshener in their car, but they just have me hanging out with them. And it's cool because if you think about it, realtors, they tend to prior to COVID, they car van together or carpool together, right? They go out to these like broker opens and open houses together. And the thing is, if one of them ever asks, well, who's that guy? Well, it's a conversation starter. And that's my lender. And it's funny, it's different. I've had ideas shot down though by HR. I was going to do urinal cakes.
Urinal
and
cake.
I got that. Yeah, I got the idea from I Love You Man. And the guy was like, oh, how do I know you? You pissed on my face. And I'm like, well, I don't want that to happen. So I actually had it designed. It was a urinal cake. And it said, don't piss your money away. Call Zephan. And I thought it was ingenious. I was like, this is going to be great. Yeah, no, there's so many things to why that's not okay and why I can't just drop them in random place. I thought it would be great. They're not all winners, but that's how it happens. You hear something and then you start playing with it and playing with it. I mean, a lot of my captions, you're the man behind the scenes. If I get stumped, you're my first call for something witty, or if I need that pun to really sell it, you're my Rapunzel.
I still haven't come up with a good one for the Jurassic Park. I'm somewhere along the lines of getting you out of the cave into your perfect home, but then people would have to reference dinosaurs, Jurassic Park, and cavemen. I'm just too many steps away.
It was a lot. Well, who came through clutch with that? Because like the thing is, I'll throw you an idea, you throw it back, we smack it back and forth, and somehow we come out with something crazy. I actually sent it to Anthony Muscarella, and he helped me word it. So we came up with, call me today before these low rates go extinct. If you were wondering if I can pre-approve you at night or on the weekend, you bet Jurassic I can.
Nice. It's right
fun,
there.
We just didn't know where to put it, and it wound up being, because you don't want to sound forced either, because then you're lame.
I love that, and I love bouncing those things off of you, because at the end of the day, all of those witty, snarky marks, it's the sharp brain, but it's also a little bit of dad joke to it.
And that's so you're trying to add a little bit of humor to like what's usually a dry, sometimes stressful industry and environment. I joke around with my underwriters all the time. They just told me today, I'd ask them like, hey, is there any chance we can get the CD out today? They wrote back to me, we have 50 CDs going out today, probably not till tomorrow. So I Google real quickly that scene from Dazed and Confused, or I think that's the one where it was, but it's like, it'd be a lot cooler if you did. And I sent it to them, and it's like, you know, they now added me on Facebook because they think I'm so funny, and I create this like, you know, it's not just always about business, but
It's not. Well, it's that balance of how to keep sane, right? Because the easy question is, over the last 3 months, working more hours than you were before, working harder to keep pushing the same paper or more paper through.
Yeah. Honestly, I've never been so busy in my life. There was a lot of factors to that aside from just the economy. I happen to be on an amazing team right now that the support is just unbelievable. My analogy for that is that it's like being a runner in like a third world country, just barefoot on rocks, and then like having somebody give you a fresh, clean pair of Nike running shoes for the first time. That's what it was like for me to join this team. My process just became that much cleaner, simpler, smoother, just all around more efficient. My marketing was already there. My referral partners were really starting to like trust me. They're seeing all the reviews pour in. So like, oh, let's give this guy a shot. You know, people like you were one of the first people who believed in me, and now because of you, all of your colleagues believe in me. So it's been a lot of that, plus the economy. So it was really good timing, despite again everything else going on in the world. It was good timing for everything with my career personally. All that together kind of trickled in, and it's been nonstop. Honestly, this pandemic, I think I've taken maybe 2 personal days, but you know, it's a good problem to have. Nothing
It's
like
a
this.
great problem to have.
And I hear from people who've been doing this longer than me. It's not going to last forever. And it's like, if you were in the California gold rush, would you really just decide to go home and you can come back tomorrow and hopefully there's still more gold? No, you're going to stay there. You're going to keep mining your ass off until there's no more. That's literally what I'm doing right now. So I'm telling myself, it's like, you just got to keep going.
So we're hitting this crazy perfect storm, right? And today, Governor Murphy announced that he's lifting the stay-at-home order, and the rollout and the phases of opening the world are continuing. We've still got New York with a different plan than that, but we've seen a ton of North Jersey and New York people try to jump into New Jersey real estate. So we've had this crazy seller's market, and rates are still crazy low. But eventually there's going to be an end to this. We're not going to be able to keep the rates this low forever, right?
Right. And I'm very happy that you said that. So many of my friends call me and they're like, oh, it's a buyer's market, right? Because the rates are low. It just shows me how much people don't really understand what these terms mean. Just because the rates are low does not mean it's a buyer's market by any means at all. Because unfortunately, my wife and I are part of the group of people that have been aggressively looking for a home for the last 8 months. We know exactly what we want. Now, here's where the issue lies. No inventory. There's none. And when people were about to list their homes for the spring market, COVID came at the same time. So unless you had to sell your home, why were you going to list your home? You're not going to let people into your house when we had a disease that we knew nothing about, and it just got scarier and scarier and scarier. It's like, no, unless you absolutely had to, you were not listing your home. So spring market never really came. That said, even still, as houses finally are starting to hit the market, it has been picking up right now. The purchase business, the applications are pouring in. The problem is now these houses, we can curse on this, right? Yeah, of course, it's you.
No, we can't fucking curse. Don't you dare fucking curse on this.
So people
Sorry,
want,
Mom.
people want after repair value for their shithole from 1972. And the problem is there's a sucker out there that's going to pay it because he's tired of waiting and looking. Now, my concern is it's not even that that's going to praise for that, but like say you find like that $500,000 house, it's everything you want, 2,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, the works, right? Great neighborhood. But the problem is it needs 60 to 80 grand worth of reno. The kitchen is disgusting. The bathrooms are gross. Just like the floors need to be ripped up. And the house is not going to appraise for more than that 5. You're lucky that it got that 5. So it's like anything you put into it, you're not getting that back. You know what I mean? So it's like, it kind of sucks with how inventory is versus what's actually there. And listen, listing agents are very strategic with it. They know there's no inventory, so they're pricing them knowing that they can get above, record highs. Oh, and you can see it. The top agents in our state are producing like crazy right now. I'm seeing it left and right on Instagram, like highest in the neighborhood, just accept it. And it's like, Yeah, because people are desperate. If you have a house that was maintained, it's gone by the weekend.
Yeah, and I've seen it where we have these feeding frenzies. A house hits the market on a Friday. It's had 10 people get through it by Saturday, and here's 6 contracts before many people have blinked and even realized it was out there. And we're seeing over ask a lot. I haven't seen necessarily what's going to happen when the appraiser comes through and knocks it down, because there's no comps justifying the number. And if we're now all of a sudden going to have to see a lot more people with cash in the bank that will eat that appraised value in order to still buy the house, because they quote unquote have to have that neighborhood where this is the house.
You said it perfectly. People, high demand areas, Tinton Falls, a lot of places in Monmouth County in general, not to single them out, just in general, Monmouth County. You said it best, lenders anywhere, we can only lend to what it's appraised to. But the thing is, people are willing to pay that difference in cash because they're tired of looking and this is what they wanted. And it's like, hey, more power to you, but not for me. Me and Nicole, my wife, we went last Saturday, and this one house, it was immaculate, pristine condition. It was priced to sell. We got into a crazy bid war, but we were only allowed 15 minutes. That's how crazy busy these showings were. 15-minute increments. And that had nothing to do with sanitation. It had to do with how crazy this house was. And the bid war was just so rapid fire. It was that day listed. They wanted best and final that day from everyone.
Wow.
So we're still renting.
That it kind of brings it back home to the important issue. If somebody is considering entering this crazy feeding frenzy, can you talk a minute about what they have to do to work with you, how prepared they should be with their docs? Because I know that's my biggest pet peeve is we tell clients what we need and then we wind up getting it piecemeal, so it just disrupts the process.
So this goes out to, and I'll speak on behalf of every lender with this statement. Pre-qualifications don't mean shit. Get your docs in. Okay, this is a seller's market, meaning that if you have an offer and you put it in and it's a pre-qualification, my wife kind of just cut through the background right there.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
If you have a pre-qualification, you put an offer in for 400,000, and then another couple, they put in a pre-approval offer for 400,000, they're going with that other person's offer. The reason being is they've now been vetted. The documents are in, they know that you're good for the money. Whereas a pre-qual, there's no docs. All that was done was a credit check, and we're hoping the information you provided us is accurate. Why is the seller going to waste any more time than reading that paper to make a decision? They're not. So don't waste anybody's time. At the end of the day, we're not paid hourly. We're not paid. There is no safety net in our industry, and that's what we signed up for. But with a market like this, and if you really do want to get a home, get your docs in order. You need 30 days worth of pay stubs. There's a lot of people on unemployment right now. A lot of people making more money on unemployment than they were when they were working, which is kind of crazy. It's a different topic for a different day. But, they're like, oh, well, I'm making more than I did before. I should be fine. No, you have to be working at the time of closing. So 30 days worth of pay stubs is first and foremost. You need 2 years W-2s. A lot of people are trying to milk out that July tax return situation. At this point, you need your 2019 taxes done. Bye, love you.
Bye, love you too.
Family before business, always.
That's right.
But what's it called?
Tax returns must be done.
Yes, tax returns must be done. 2 years worth of tax returns. And then other than that, I mean, as long as your credit, like I said, you got to get it above a 620. And then we're in business. We can make something happen. We can start strategizing. The sooner you start speaking with the mortgage professional, the sooner we can start putting a game plan together. If you plan on, we want to do it in September, and you have a 620 score, good. Let's work today. So that way, by the time September comes and your lease is up, we have you at that 700 score. We have you at that hopefully 3% rate if the market continues to hold. Otherwise, it's just like you're gonna overwhelm yourself. You're not gonna have a good time. It's supposed to be exciting. It's the most amount of money you're ever going to spend, besides, unless you buy like a commercial building or send your kid to an Ivy school. Other than that, this is, you should have fun. This is a huge investment. This is about to be the first day of the rest of your life for the most people. This house will help you set you up for your next house. It's an investment. It's a lot. It's not just transactional.
The the speed and the aggression that's going on with the market, I think, has sucked a little bit of that joy out. You wind up with a couple of converging things. A, people that might not have been prepared. B, the concept of FOMO, right? And it's almost like an eBay bidding auction. All of a sudden, you're like, well, they're at 620, but somebody else just countered at 630, and you're like, well, I could go to 645, but they're competing to win emotionally, without necessarily thinking exactly about the how do you sell it someday. I once bought the second nicest house on a street, and I knew I was capped out on repairs within the first 20,000 that I put into it, that I was never going to see another penny back. And then the second house I bought was one of the cheapest houses on the street, but had the good structure that I knew that if I put something into it, my return would be amazing. I don't know if we have the time to do that right now because of how these feeding frenzies are going.
No.
So it's not
No.
as fun. I don't know if home buying is as much of a fun or is a chore this time around.
Listen, and being, a foreclosure short sale specialist, aside from bankruptcy, that everybody wants to be Chip and Joanne, right? Everybody wants to find that rundown, dilapidated home that they could turn into that beautiful colonial. It's just, you would think it's an easy process. Those properties are few and far between. The banks never want to let them go, which makes no sense. They'd rather continue to hemorrhage money. And then if you do actually have one where the seller is still involved, it's a very long, drawn out emotional experience, and it's not a pleasant one. The house is usually destroyed and it's been sitting, and there's just one problem after the next. And then once you figured out those problems, all of a sudden you found now there's an oil tanker and then a dead body in the backyard. Just kidding. No, that never happened. But like, it's just, it's a lot. So unfortunately, yeah, it's not as fun as it seems, where it's like, oh, we could just buy something crappy and make it a little bit better. The market's not really priced like that right now, in my opinion. And I mean, I deal with a lot of first time home buyers. It's not priced to improve. It's priced to move in right now and accept it for as is. And that's it. Sellers are able to get away with it right now.
I wanted to make sure I didn't lose this point. Over the last 3 months, we've seen a ton of forbearance options and deferment options from all the lenders, because people were being furloughed, people were being unemployed, all of these people that were reacting to the pandemic that we had. But people were taking those opportunities, and they may not have realized one of the unintended consequences of it. How would that affect their ability to take advantage of the refis that you're seeing right now?
Well, if they were, on forbearance or anything of the nature, if it's past 60 days, the guidelines are changing every other day. I think the last one that I read regarding that was if you did pass 60 days in forbearance, you have to wait about 12 months before you're allowed to refinance. I would have to double check. Luckily, a majority of my clients didn't have to resort to that, because everyone who did call me, I told them all the same. If you're still working, if you still make that payment, yeah, it sounds good theoretically to skip mortgage payments. You're never skipping them. You're never losing them. It's just like, it's stuck with you. You know what I mean? You're going to pay it back sooner or later. And, if for some people, it was an amazing bailout. Some people absolutely needed it. But for the people that didn't, it's going to hurt them in the long run, especially if rates are so low right now. For the guy that decided to, use it when he didn't need it and he was at a 5.125, it's like, great. Could have been at 3%, saving a couple $100 a month, and you would have skipped the payment.
Yeah, and that's the math that people have to understand. Let's take 5%, right, and throw it on a $500,000 house. And now let's move it to 3%, because that's where the refis could be right now. Mm-hmm. If you are in fact saving $10,000, look at that for quick math, $10,000 of interest a year, what do you do with $800 back in your pocket?
Right. The smart guy would either apply it towards principal, reduce it, because if you can make one extra principal payment a year, your 30-year mortgage will drop down 7 years. So that 30-year becomes a 23-year, or reinvest it, put it into a savings account, roll that into the market, do something with that money that you weren't planning on doing with it before. Because most people, what they do is they'll spend it. And now it's like, okay, well, that was useless. You should use it strategically. And some people, I've noticed that my generation, especially, they're interested in that, which is cool. It's a different era because there's a lot more financial advisors. I feel like more people know one or two at least that can help guide them with this. And I just recently started working with one. I got my life insurance working out for me now. You helped guide me with that too. You had a lot of suggestions, and there's things to do with your money if you're saving. If you're used to a payment and it's not making you financially distressed, and you're not eating ramen noodles every single day, Monday through Friday, then take that extra money that you're now saving and invest it. Make that extra principal payment. Do something with it that'll actually benefit you long term.
Absolutely. And that's why people should be taking advantage of these rates while they're there, if they're in a position to do so. And it doesn't hurt to ask, doesn't hurt to pick your brain to see if that opportunity exists.
So it's funny, I crack this joke. The people who don't want their credit scores ran usually are the ones who have bad credit. It's not always the case, but it's a joke. At most, it's usually like 8 to 10 point hit. I'm not gonna run your credit every single month. I'm not a car dealer. I'm not gonna run it 11 times in one shot. I'm gonna run it one time. We're gonna go through everything. We're gonna make sure everything's accurate. And we're gonna see what we can improve. And if it's beyond my pay grade, then we're gonna make a call to one of my friends. And if my credit experts can't do it, by all means, Google. I'm sure you can find 300 of them if you type in credit expert help. They have their SEO going.
And guys, seriously, when it comes to credit repair, it's a fairly simple process. I remember being that guy fresh out of college with the first job that realized, oh shit, I did a lot of stupid things when I was in college, and I ran my credit crazy. I had debts. I had people chasing me. And until I had a real job and decided it was time to buck up and be an adult and pay my bills and dispute the things that I could get away with disputing, there was no way I was going to buy a house. My personal lead time to go from somebody that was thinking about buying a house to buying a house, I almost gave myself a year. And I recommend most people give themselves at least 6 months. And on day one of that, they run their credit so they know what their score is. And they see that stupid medical bill that never got paid, that they didn't know went to collection, or the gym membership, or the Verizon bill, something dumb that it's going to take. One of my first arguments was over a $64 copay for a medical, like prescription drug pickup. And I didn't pay it at the time, and it showed up on my report as a collection. And after I spent 30 minutes arguing with the guy that I shouldn't be responsible for the bill, I stopped and I said, how much is it going to take? And he's like, excuse me? And I'm like, what do I need to get this off my report right now? And he said, $32. I spent 30 minutes arguing over $32. Sometimes the cost of the repair is more valuable than the cost of the time to get it off your report, or the money it's going to cost you by not improving your credit enough to qualify for the great rates.
And great point. And that's why you want to speak to one of us as soon as you can, because here's the other thing. You can't close if you have an open dispute. So if you're disputing it and you're not going to actually pay it, you're just adding time to your game plan, and you had mentioned the credit card debts. That's actually a huge reason why people are reaching out to me right now. This is America. We live off credit. It's a fact. A majority of Americans live with credit card debt. There's actually stats on it. I don't have them up where I would tell you the exact numbers. It's staggering. It's crazy. That said, a majority of people who reached out to me, it wasn't just to lower the rate. A lot of people reached out to me so they can do something called a cash out refinance. Now, you can do several things with that. You can renovate your home with that money, or you could do what most people did, and that's pay off all your consumer debt and lower your rate. It sounds crazy, but like the people who are paying like 5% and whatnot, they can get like, mid 3, high 3 rate. Maybe if they want to pay points, get it even lower than that. So now they're saving money on their payment. They lowered the rate, and they're actually getting rid of all their consumer debt that they're paying at least between 12.99 all the way up to 24.99 in interest rates. I actually have a real close friend of mine. I close on him, and they make a couple $1,000s in payments on their credit cards every month, but the balances are so high that it's mostly interest that they're paying every single month. It's literally it's like they're stuck in a hole. It's terrible. So it's
I call it the bleed rate. So the average American sitting on about 20 grand of debt, and they feel that that's an overhead that they can tolerate for some reason. And the average credit card is somewhere between 15 to 25%. So we'll go on the low scale. 20,000 at 15% is $3,000 of interest a year, $250 a month. And that's your bleed rate. So you take $250, you put it on my desk, you light it on fire, you watch it turn to ash, and then you make an appointment to come back in next month and do the same fucking thing over and over and over again. If there's not one thing that you learn from these talks that I do, it's interest is the killer. The lower you get your interest rate, the more you win, the more money that winds up back in your pocket instead of some business's pocket.
Well said. And that's literally another reason why I tell most of my home buyers, first time home buyers especially, where it's like, listen, if you want to go low money down, I usually suggest the FHA. The reason being is they tend to have a lower rate with lower credit scores as well. They offer one of the lowest down payments. Conventional does have a 3% option now, but a lot of people have like a stigma against it. And they're like, oh, but you have mortgage insurance forever. Okay, but you can refinance once you hit 20%. Chances are you're going to anyway. The fact of the matter is, get the lowest rate possible, get the lowest payment possible. That way you can increase your monthly cash flow. And if you want, make additional principal payments and get yourself to that 20% equity super quick. You know, that's the right way to do things. People, you know, it's a lot of old school mentality and false beliefs that have put these stigmas together. But that's what I do for a living. I'm an honest to God myth buster 24/7.
I don't think you've done a commercial from those guys yet.
I should. I was just thinking that too. I was like, damn.
Next thing. That's next. Holy shit. I would love an entire series of Mortgage Myth Busters. I think we're going to talk about that offline.
I think it's a good one too.
So what else do you want to talk about? We've covered mortgage. We've covered the craziness of a pandemic. What's next besides some sleep?
I mean, I guess returning to the new norm. I don't see a lot of us mortgage people really returning to offices so much, being that it's such a time-consuming industry that it's actually a blessing that we got to work from home. Because had we been working at the offices, I wouldn't have had the time that I've had with my daughter, and she's young, she's 5 months, so it's cool to have her in the other room. You know, when I'm on phone calls and whatnot, if I'm on teleconferences, I can always hit mute. I have her in my hands. You know what I mean? So I think that the way that we do things is going to drastically change. But I mean, the need for personal touch is definitely still there. You know, meetings are still going to happen. You know, we just did one on Asbury Boardwalk, socially distanced. It was great. That was actually awesome. But you know, as weird as it is, despite everything that is going on in the world, this forced everyone to get up to date with technology. And me, I'm a technology buff. It's my background. I have a double bachelor's in IT. I think it's actually about time a lot of people started relying on technology more. You know, my parents are the first ones I'll point the finger at. They had no idea how to FaceTime or use Google Duo for Androids. So now I got both them on it, and they see my daughter now more than they did before COVID. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of pros to take away from it, despite everything happening.
It's silver lining blessings, things that we were forced to do outside of our comfort zone. People get used to status quo. We don't like change. And when change was thrust upon us, the people that made those changes quickly are the people that are okay still right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. And it was like the second week of March. And I remember everybody just started packing their stuff up at the office. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, we're not taking any chances. And I'm like, oh, say less. As we speak right now, my office setup, I have 2 monitors mounted to my windowsill, and my desk is an ottoman, and my chair is a stool that the vice president of my company got for my daughter. You know, you got to make do.
Well, I'm glad the stool is coming to good use. I'm sure Ant will think so too.
Yeah.
The last confusing piece of this puzzle, I think, is obviously going to become in-person group meetings and conferences, all these things that businesses invest money in order to get their name out there. And I'm not sure how that shift's going to go yet. Have you guys made any decisions about all of those things that are coming up, like the realtors conferences and what we're going to do to have a presence if there is even such a conference? That's why it's so crazy.
I mean, truthfully, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that right now. I mean, all I will say is with everything happening in the world, if you are on the fence of purchasing or refining, now is the time. As the S&P 500 continues to get their gains back, as the stock market continues to start thriving again, as the country continues to reopen, rates will start to go back up as well. In terms of celebratory after effects regarding the realtor, AC party and all those things, I'm not sure. That 3 hours, I don't know how this is going to happen. I'm sure you and I are going to come up with something pretty interesting soon. We should, after this call, let's do that. Let's figure out how we're going to do our first social distancing.
So, all we have to do. So Zephan and I were supposed to launch this realtors tour right as this hit. We have band T-shirts and an electric guitar to give away for the socially bankrupt tour. We just have to change one word. It's the socially distant bankrupt tour,
That's why.
and we're right there. All we were missing was one word 4 months ago. Who fucking knew?
Yeah.
But
The social media and bankruptcy,
that's
so socially bankrupt, and now it's socially distant bankrupt tour.
yes. So now we're gonna have to do it over Zoom, and we're gonna still have to figure out the energy to get people excited in the room. But I don't know how Atlantic City looks without the wristbands and the famous rappers showing up on site. So triple play might be a little complicated if we have to do it from our living room with our spouse and our kids watching.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, that's the least of everything, but I am interested in seeing what's going to happen with that. I mean, me personally, I don't really like going to those so much. I like to show face and then disappear before it gets rowdy, because you want to be the guy where people are asking about where you were, and not the guy where it's like, damn, did you see how he was? It's like I don't want to be that guy.
So you're saying I get to be Frank the Tank in this scenario?
Oh yeah, I'm King Irish exit. I'm gonna go use the bathroom and then get in my car.
That's awesome. What else you got, babe? What's your lasting thoughts to the group? They want to find you. You should be going look for Zeph on Instagram, where you're just under your name. It's Zephan Gilani. It is absolutely not as it sounds, but I'll make sure to put it in the link. If they want to find you on YouTube, they can watch every one of your amazing previous commercials and hits out there. Where else should people be looking for you?
I mean, if you Google me, luckily all of it is me. If you spell my name right, that is. My Zillow is there. Our company just took on another review website called Social Survey, where it takes all your reviews from every website and it verifies the client itself. It also reaches out to them to see would you ever refer him. So it kind of gives you a little bit more credibility than just your typical Trulia Zillow review. Like you mentioned, I'm all over every social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And that's the thing. It's like out of sight, out of mind. That's why it's like I'm always there. I'm always posting. And that's the thing. It's like I treat it like its own business, about an hour of my day, my accounts, my team accounts, everybody I spend and I'm posting, because out of sight, out of mind. People will forget you in half a second when they see the house that they've been looking for 9 months show up in front of them. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about the fact, holy shit, we finally found it. Now, if I show up on the phone every single day, I'm on every single network, then they're like, I got to call Zephan. I found the goddamn house. It's not a second thought. So instead of what was it? Always be posing, always be posting.
Always be posting, and reminder people, Zephan is not locked into just Jersey. He just closed a Florida property a couple of days ago.
Yes. So personally, in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida, I have been pending with New York. I was going to be cleared, and then COVID happened, so now they're down to like one person running their ship. I can't even get somebody to call me back. I literally get emails all the time saying, "Oh, something's been updated," but still hasn't been cleared. So New York still pending, but yeah, no, personally licensed in 3 states for now.
Awesome, Zeph. Thanks for joining me today, brother. I love you. I'm so glad to have you on. And guys, be on the lookout for Zephan. If you need somebody that knows their shit in mortgage and will make you laugh for hours, he's your man.
George, anything for you. I appreciate you having me.
All right, brother. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye, everybody.